Welcome to the Health by Haven podcast. I'm your host, Haven Quinlan. If you're a multi-passionate wellness enthusiast, then you're in the right place. I'm obsessed with learning as much as I can about the wellness world, and I want to share that with you. Each episode will dive into various aspects of health and wellness through inspiring and informative guest interviews with some solo episodes thrown in. Tune in for all things health, and let's have some fun, shall we? Preparing for pregnancy or navigating motherhood? Foundation of Stone Pediatric and Perinatal Family Chiropractic in Knoxville, Tennessee supports moms and babies through gentle nervous system-based chiropractic care. Learn more at tnkidschiro.com. Hello, and welcome back to the Health by Haven podcast. I hope you all had a wonderful weekend. I am here today doing a solo episode to recap the 2026 United Airlines NYC Half Marathon put on by the New York Roadrunners. This race was now 2 weekends ago, and so I wanted to get out an episode to you guys as soon as I could to share a lot of things. I'm going to recap what my training looked like for anyone interested in what training for a half marathon is like. I'm going to share a little bit about that training block during the winter months. I will share all about the race weekend, including the expo and events that happened that weekend. We'll do a play-by-play of the race and do a little bit of the post-race celebrations. And then towards the back half of the episode, we'll chat about how to get into the race next year if you are interested in running this amazing half marathon in New York City. So let's get into it, shall we? Okay, this was a record-setting event for the New York Roadrunners. It was their largest half marathon in history of their events with 30,229 finishers. This was a big race. It was split up among 4 waves of different runners. And then within those waves, people were broken into corrals as well to stagger the starts, because as you can imagine, the streets would be very, very crowded if everybody started at once. So it's a really big race. They had a really impressive professional field at this race as well. So if you're interested at all in following professional running, I would definitely go back, watch some clips, look at the results of this race. Helen O'Beary won for the women. I'm just going to chat ladies here because let's be real, that's what I'm most interested in professional running. She won this year. She set an event record of 1 hour, 6 minutes, and 33 seconds, which is just honestly mind-blowing. She won this race in 2023, and she's the reigning champion and the course record holder of the New York City full marathon as well. So I love watching her race. I love watching her and Sharon Lokedi battle it out. I feel like it's always down to those two at the finish line of a big race. She actually beat Sharon by quite a large margin this time. A lot of times they're neck and neck till the end, but Helen is our champ this year. Now, getting into training for a half marathon. If you've never run a half before, I have a lot of different episodes, both solo episodes and guest episodes on the Health by Haven podcast about what it's like to train for and run a half marathon. So I would definitely go back through and take a look at those if it's something you're interested in. I would try to consume as many episodes as you can about what it's like to train and run for a half marathon. I typically, for myself and my coaching clients, like to do a 12-week training plan for a half. This time I did a 10-week plan for myself. I self-coached myself on this one. So I started my training in January, and I will say this training plan did not go according to plan. So we'll get into that. But I have never gone over mileage before for a half training plan. A lot of times if you're like finding a plan online, your longest long run will be a 10-mile run. But I've got 6 marathons under my belt now. I kind of prefer a little bit of a higher mileage long run. And I was looking to potentially PR, set a personal record in this race. And so I decided let's shake it up a little bit and go over mileage on a few of my long runs. So my longest long run for this training plan was 15 miles. And my plan was to run 4 days a week, cross train 2 days a week, and rest 1 day a week. And most weeks I at least did those days of breakdowns, but New York City faced extreme winter weather this year, especially in January and February. We were pounded with multiple big snowstorms, blizzards, if you will. Crazy cold temperatures. I think we had a stretch of like maybe 3 weeks straight of never going above freezing. So as you can imagine, when there's snow on the ground and the ground's wet, it sticks around and everything is ice. I have no problem bundling up and going out for a run outdoors in the cold weather. But when there's ice and snow all over the ground, that changes the story for me. Big potential of injury from falling there. So I did a lot more runs than I would prefer on the treadmills in my building. And I've talked about this a little bit on social media and on the Health by Haven Substack, which, by the way, if you're not subscribed to the Substack, go to healthbyhaven.substack.com/subscribe. You can have a free subscription. You can have a paid subscription that will unlock further content for you guys, but just a little shameless plug. Go over there. I chat a lot more about running on that weekly newsletter. And they got my race recap first last week. So if you want the inside scoop. But I spent a lot of days and a lot of miles on the treadmill, which is not at all my preferred way to run. I think the mental benefits of running are just as good, if not better, than the physical benefits of running. And a lot of that for me is being outdoors in the fresh air and the sunshine. And that was just not the case as much during these wintry months. And so I was struggle busing. I'm not going to lie. I feel very blessed that I had the opportunity to continue training on the treadmill during this training block when it wasn't really possible for me to safely run outside, but it didn't mean I enjoyed it. Every once in a while, I love to like crank out some speed work on the tread. You have a little bit more control versus when you're outdoors and there's streetlights or people you're going around or hills, but for the most part, I much prefer outside. And so this was a mental health struggle bus for me to not be able to get outside with the fresh air and the sunshine and to be slogging miles on the tread. It was not my favorite. And I chat more about that on Instagram and on Substack, but I just want to put that out there for you guys, like being real. Running is always glamorous. Even though I love running, I don't always want to get on a treadmill to log miles that my plan says. So many days I would drag myself begrudgingly up to the gym and run on a tread, but often days I was kind of doing the bare minimum. I was getting some like trash miles in, as I like to say, just like time on feet when I was supposed to be doing speed work and hitting paces. I was not motivated to do that a lot of days. And a lot of times if I would have upwards of like 8 or 10 miles on the tread, I'd be like, 4 is good, 6 is good. It's really hard to push yourself to keep going on the treadmill when you can just literally hit the stop button and hop off versus when you're outdoors and you've gotten yourself away from home, you have to make it back somehow. So anyways, wanted to share that a little bit with you guys. But there were also days I completely cut mileage and took a bar class instead, just because I needed a little community and the weather was rough. And I really didn't make it to run club very many times during this train block, which is a bummer because I love running with other people. And it's just a fun way to have a social hour and get your workout in at the same time. We finally had some nice weather the week before the race. So that was honestly so life-giving to be able to just get outside more, walk my dog more, run outdoors, soak up some sunshine. I'm telling you, the seasonal depression was like hitting so hard this year for me. And so that was so rejuvenating. The warm weather didn't last for race day, but that's okay. It could have been much worse. So anyways, enough about training. Let's chat about race weekend. Well, one other non-training, nothing in my training made me think, oh yeah, this is going to be a race I'm going to PR on. I kind of let that dream die a couple of weeks into my training block when I was like, honestly, I don't want to push myself on the treadmill, and I'm okay with deciding, even though I originally wanted this training block to be a potential personal record for me, I'm good. I don't really want to be in the pain cave every day on the treadmill, so I'm going to let it go. But race weekend, let's chat about what the weekend was like. So Race Expo was hosted throughout the weekend. I went on Friday to pick up my bib. So if you've never run a race before and you're like, what the heck is a Race Expo? Oftentimes for these larger races, they do a race bib pickups, like the number that you wear during the race. You have to go and pick it up before the race because the race is just far too large to be able to grab it the morning of. Like some smaller races, you can do that. So they try to make it a little bit of an event as well. They involve their sponsors and some activations and fun things. And so I went on Friday, picked up my bib. New Balance is a huge sponsor for New York Roadrunners. So they had a lot of branded merchandise, which is really fun. But to be honest, I spent far too much money buying New York City Marathon merchandise. So I abstained this time, but got my t-shirt that you get with your race registration, which I do actually really like the color of that shirt. I'm not a big tech t-shirt wearer, but it's a long sleeve. So my favorite running weather is long sleeves and shorts. So hopefully that'll get to come out to play a little bit this spring before it gets too warm. But got my bib, got my shirt. At the expo, you can talk with the pacers that will be out on the course, talk to them about their pace strategy. They make these really cool little paper bracelets that you can wear depending on like if you're trying to hit a certain time. So like I picked up the 140 pace bracelet, and on that, you can have a side for miles, a side for kilometers to show you what your splits on every mile should be. And they actually grade it depending on like the elevation and the challenging parts of the course. So instead of having like a consistent pace every single mile, 1 mile might have like a huge uphill. And so it's going to be a little bit of a slower pace, but then 1 mile might have a bigger downhill. And so it's a faster pace. So I actually really like that. Picked one of those up. They have like a cool screen showing the course map, like as if you were like running through the course. You can kind of like get your bearings, different sponsor activations, different freebies and giveaways. You can buy like fuel, you can buy socks, you can buy running bottles, things like that at the expo as well. To be honest, I was a little bit underwhelmed with this expo. This was the first time they moved locations. And so I thought, oh, it's like a bigger venue. There's probably going to be a lot of different things you can do there. But to be honest, I'm also probably doing an unfair comparison because the last race expo I attended was for the New York City Marathon, which is obviously much larger. So yeah, that was a little bit of a bummer, but that's okay. Kind of got in and out of there pretty quick. You don't want to be on your feet too long on race weekend anyways. So that was on Friday. On Saturday, my husband Billy and I went to the Endorphins and New Balance shakeout run. Endorphins is a run club that I run with a lot here in New York City. They're one of the larger ones. There are a couple others that I like to run with too, but they're my most consistent club. They were hosting a shakeout run on Saturday, partnering with New Balance, which is my preferred running shoe. So always fun to see those brands partner together. And they had a pop-up in Soho. And so Billy and I jogged up there and went on their little shakeout run on Saturday. I say little, it wasn't little. There's probably like 200 people there. I don't know. It's massive. And for people who are like, what's a shakeout run? Oftentimes before a race, a little bit for the jittery nerves and a little bit for your body, you want to like log just a couple of easy miles, maybe the day or 2 days before a race to kind of get your body ready for race day. I had taken a rest day on Friday, and so I was definitely feeling a little bit antsy, ready to run a little bit, but you don't want to expend yourself at all. You just want to kind of like get some turnover for your legs and shake out some nerves. So this was probably like a 3.5-ish mile shakeout run. And then They had like lots of fun giveaways and activations. We got some branded running gloves that said like NYC half. They're actually really nice, good winter gloves. They were giving out t-shirts too, but to be honest, my drawers are overflowing, so I didn't grab one of those. And at the end of the run, they had coffee. They had pop-up bagels, which is like the best. They had the brand Mush that makes overnight oats. They have granola bars now, so they were like giving those out as well. And then you could also demo New Balance's new running shoe called the Ellipse. I did not do this because it was the day before race day and, don't want to like throw myself off at all. So I wore my trusty 1080s. If you've been around a while, that's my favorite daily trainer that New Balance makes. But they look really beautiful, the Ellipse. I would love to try them at some point. And demoing a shoe, like a lot of times, if there's like a new shoe that comes out and a brand is partnering on an event like this, they'll bring a bunch of their running shoes where you can like literally just like trade your shoes for the run and get to try them out without having to buy a pair, which is a really cool way to give something new a try. They had a whole like indoor section with a photo booth and different activations, but I didn't want to stick around for like hours afterwards. I wanted to get off my feet. So had the bagels and coffees and then hit the road back home to try to rest up for race day. I did feel like it was great energy at the expo, at the shakeout. Like I felt like all the running scene has been in hibernation a little bit, and it really felt like, oh, we're like so back for spring race season. So that was really fun. Race morning, Sunday, March 15th. I had a 5 a.m. alarm for a 5:50 departure from the apartment. The race started in Brooklyn by Prospect Park, so it's about a 30-minute travel time for me from Manhattan to get out there. Similar start to where the Brooklyn half is, which I've run the last 2 years. So it's kind of nice to have that familiarity. But of course, weekend early morning trains are very inconsistent. And even though Billy did a great job planning out our timeline for me, trains got delayed. And so we stood on the platform for a long time, like probably 15 minutes. And it wasn't just me. There were a lot of other runners, but we were all kind of looking at each other like it just said train delays. And we're like, oh, geez, getting nervous. And if you've ever run one of these big city races before, the subways get jam-packed with runners. So I was also worried a train would finally show up and I wouldn't be able to actually physically fit on the train. We almost called an Uber because I was really starting to freak that I wasn't going to make it in time. But good news, the train finally came. We were packed in like sardines. So that is a fair warning. If you want to come and run a race in New York City and you're planning to take the subway to the start line, which honestly is probably the best way to get there because of road closures, be prepared to have extra time for delays, have extra time for if you can't fit into a train, or just be ready to be real cozy with a stranger on a train. We were jam-packed in there. It's probably about a 30-minute train over to Brooklyn to get things started. I was in Wave 1, Corral D. So the start time for Wave 1 was 7:20. But with these bigger races as well, you have to go through security first, which is great to have those safety precautions. Obviously, we all know about the Boston bombing in 2013 at the Boston Marathon. Really, really horribly tragic and scary. And, some other horrific things have happened at races as far as like cars coming onto courses and things like that. So I so appreciate them, doing everything that they can to keep runners safe. But of course, it's just extra time to plan. It's kind of like you're going through TSA before a flight. And so I've gotten through these security lines pretty quick for other New York Roadrunners races, but for some reason, I don't know what it was very backed up by the time I got there. I think I stood in security for like 40 minutes. And again, all these runners around me, we're all looking at each other like, oh my gosh, like we're going to miss our start wave. Like, what is going on? Everyone was like, are you in wave 1? Like, are you in wave 1? I think they're hoping to like hop the line a little bit, but we were all like, yeah, we're all in wave 1. Like, it's just slow. And so again, plan extra time for that because I got a little cocky, I think, with having some experience at these and saying like, oh, like it takes like 10 minutes to get their security, no biggie. Like I don't need to get there as early as the New York Roadrunners timeline is telling me to. And I definitely regret that because it was slow and stressful waiting in that line. I literally, when I got through the security line, finally ran to my start corral because they close the corrals at a certain time in which you would have to wait for the next wave to start. And for some context, it's not just annoying to wait extra when it's like also cold outside and you're trying to keep your body warm, but you're also going to be with a slower group of runners than what you might comfortably run with. They basically break you out into waves and corrals based on your time. And so if you're trying to run a fast race, that's going to mean a lot more weaving through people, which is going to slow you down and it's going to add mileage to your overall day. And the way they had the waves broken out, there were two different starting corral areas. So wave 1 and 3 were together and waves 2 and 4 were together. So if you miss wave 1, not only are you missing wave 1, you have to wait through wave 2 and go with wave 3, which would have been, I think, another like 40-minute wait. And obviously a slower crowd to have to weave through. And I mean, everyone at their own pace, like that is not saying anything bad about anyone's paces, but it's just something to consider if you're trying to run a specific time. And so I literally was sprinting to my corral, like, oh, please don't close, please don't close. And I think they knew that security was kind of backed up. They were being really nice about like letting people squeeze in. But if you've also run a race, you know the nervous peas will happen. Like when I get anxious before a race, I convince myself I need to pee like 10 different times. And so you have to plan time to wait in line for the porta potties. And obviously there was no time for that. I was like barely making it into my corral. And so I was like, oh geez, it's been what, like an hour and a half since I left my apartment. Like I had coffee, I had water, like I'm about to run and jostle myself for, almost 2 hours. I really would like to use the restroom before this thing starts. And I kind of just told myself, you're just gonna have to suck it up. You're gonna have to hold it, or you're gonna have to pull off at a porta potty on the course because like you do not have time for this. And the lines in the crowd were still so long. I mean, people were still waiting in line when the national anthem was going off. I was like, there's no chance. But there are bathrooms like within the corral sections. And as the race started, I'm in corral D. So there's A through C and actually double A, I think, through C in front of me. And so as you kind of start slowly inching your way towards the start line, the bathrooms further up in the corrals didn't have a line. And I was like, you know what? I don't want to feel like stressed at the start and having to weave through some people as they pass me, but I do not want to be holding it for the entire half marathon. So I decided last minute to peel off into one of the bathrooms before the race started. And I'm so glad I did. Even though I had to weave through some people a little bit, it was worth it to not have to take the time on the course to pull off and use the restroom because that would have slowed me down, obviously, a lot more. So a little bit of a stressful start. So do not do as I do. Do as New York Roadrunner says and get there early. So you have time to get through security. You have time to get to the porta potty line. You have time to have like your pre-race fuel, all of that. As far as fueling went, I had a slice of sourdough toast with peanut butter and a little bit of coffee at my apartment before I left. And then I brought a Morton Solid Bar. It's like a runner's granola bar. Honestly, it's like a glorified Chewy bar, but way sweeter. Because you want those like simple, fast carbs before a race so that your body can turn that glucose into fuel into your muscles really quickly and efficiently. And so I had that waiting in the security line before the start and then had some gels along the course. The gels I did this time were the GU Nutrition, the GU. I had a s'mores uncaffeinated one at mile 3. I had a caramel macchiato caffeinated gel at mile 6. And then I had 2 more s'mores gels at miles 9 and 12. These are all like rough timeline, but yeah, I like the little caffeine boost, but I definitely don't want 4 caffeinated gels throughout. And these are not fun to eat, okay? They're just not, but they're like that quick carb hit that once you feel like, oh gosh, I'm like really depleting my fuel, it'll give you that extra little burst for speed.
If you're postpartum, getting ready for the postpartum season, or have a loved one experiencing this season right now, pause with me for a moment. After birth, so much of the focus shifts to the baby, and it can be easy for your own care to fall to the bottom of the list. That's why I love the postpartum support package from Avoda Massage Therapy. It's built around the idea that you deserve support too. This package includes 2 75-minute in-home visits so you don't have to pack up yourself or a newborn to get care. You'll also receive 2 postpartum massage sessions designed to help your body rest, recover, and gently release tension from pregnancy and birth. Avoda also includes a castor oil pack and a reusable heated water bottle, so you have simple, supportive tools to use between sessions when your body needs a little extra warmth and care. The whole package is available with 4 payments of $170, making it easier to say yes to consistent support during a really tender time. If that kind of postpartum care sounds like something you'd appreciate, you can learn more about the postpartum support package at avodamassagetherapy.com.
All right, let's go mile by mile. So miles 1 and 2 are in Prospect Park. I've run this in Brooklyn before for the Brooklyn Half Marathon. So that was fun to kind of wind through the park, see some familiar scenes. The park is a little bit hilly. I got to see Billy around mile 2 at Grand Army Plaza as you exit Prospect Park. So that was a nice little boost. Gave him a good high five. He was holding the waffles sign from the New York City Marathon that we had made. And so that really helped me see him in the crowd because obviously 30,000 runners, a lot of spectators. So would definitely recommend that if you have spectators coming to your race. Have like a balloon or a sign or something to help you easily see where your spectators are and know where they're going to be. I knew he was going to be at mile 2, and then I knew he was going to be again on 7th Avenue by the park. So just something to help, because he was also like, it was kind of your job to spot me because I'm notorious for wearing dark colors in a race. Not very easy to pick me out of a big running crowd. Okay, miles 2 through about 4.5 are through Brooklyn as you're heading towards Manhattan, and then you cross over the Brooklyn Bridge. This was only the second year this course included the Brooklyn Bridge instead of the Manhattan Bridge, which was really cool. I've run over the Brooklyn Bridge a lot during marathon training or just like fun runs, but always over the pedestrian part, which honestly is like a little bit like fighting for your life with all the tourists and their selfie sticks like out in front of you. I actually saw a proposal happen on the Brooklyn Bridge on the Wednesday before this race when I was getting a little run in. So that was sweet. But they in the race, they take you on like the car part so that there's a lot more space, obviously. And so you run over the Brooklyn Bridge, you hit mile 5 on the bridge, and then you wind off the bridge onto the FDR in Manhattan and hit that mile 6 marker. You run up north up the FDR for about 3.5 miles. There's some really great views of the East River and of Brooklyn. And you're just getting like, honestly, you're getting a little bit of that side skyline view of Manhattan as well as you run. I really enjoyed this part, even though it was a bit windier. Then you exit off of the FDR. It's a steep exit up. So that was a little bit of a rough grind onto 42nd Street at the UN building. And then you go west on 42nd Street for about a mile. You're running through really like iconic skyscraper land in Manhattan towards Times Square. You start to see like all the screens lit up, and they actually like closed down Times Square for this race, which is wild because they really never do this. So that's a very unique feature of this course. And then once you hit 7th Avenue, you make a right, you go north on 7th Avenue from 42nd Street up to 49th Street, Central Park South. I saw Billy right before that turn onto Central Park South on 7th Avenue. So that was another good boost because let me tell you, I was hurting by then. Essentially, by the time you get off the FDR, everything else is a lot of uphill. It's gradual, but it's pretty relentless. There's like one little downhill blip on 47th, but besides that, the last 5K is a lot of uphill, fair warning. Then you make that right onto Central Park South, and then you make a left into Central Park at that southeast corner of the park. Basically, your last mile is through Central Park. So you've got a little bit of undulation there with the hills, some good crowds in there, and then, of course, an uphill finish, which was a push. I was kind of paying attention to my watch until about mile 11 or so. And then I was like, you know what? I'm doing everything I can. It's not going to help me to look at my pace right now. I'll just be running out of fear. And I was trying really hard to just be present and soak in the moment. And I kind of thought I wasn't going to sub 1 hour, 40 minute, which was kind of my goal. But I did think I was still on pace for a PR, which surprised me. And so I was like, let's just keep moving. Like I'm pushing as hard as I can, but I want to have fun too. And that last uphill is rough in the park. I was making some not cute grunts. I'm not going to lie. It was everything I had in me. I was trying to sprint it out and I knew I was going to be close to that 140. I just didn't know exactly when. And I heard the finish line announcers saying like, oh, the 140 pace group coming in. And I know those pace groups try to be under pace a little bit because usually someone's trying to go sub whatever the pace group is. And I was like, oh no, I'm so close. So I'm like freaking all out sprinting towards the finish. I'm like, please, 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 come on. When I stopped my watch said 1:40:10, which I was like so annoyed about because I thought 10 seconds, seriously, so annoying. Even though I was really happy about it was a PR for me. My official time ended up being 1 hour, 40 minutes and 5 seconds. And yes, I am very annoyed about those extra 6 seconds because I would have liked to be sub 140, but simultaneously like really freaking proud of that PR. That's a 2-minute, 12-second PR for me, which is huge. That PR was from the women's half marathon in Central Park in 2024. So almost a 2-year-old PR because that's an April race. And that race was almost a 4-minute PR for me. So a big jump. I don't really know how. I don't feel like I had any business PRing this race based off of my training. The only thing I can think of is I get really annoyed when I get boxed into races. And I also get like claustrophobic when I get boxed into races. So I think I just actually do better in a crowd because I'm just like getting annoyed and I zip around people. I also had brand new race shoes on that my dad got me for Christmas that I'm obsessed with. The New Balance SC Elite V5. These are super fun, super bouncy, plated race day shoes, and I absolutely love them. So if you're looking for a little extra pop and you've got it in your budget to have multiple different running shoes, because these are definitely not a daily trainer, but a really fun race shoe, I think that helps as well. As far as other gear and weather and things, it was a low 30s that morning with overcast skies. So pretty chilly. So I wore those SC Elite V5 shoes. I had my Tracksmith fleece-lined running tights and the Tracksmith Brighton base layer on, as well as my Patagonia puffer vest. I just prefer running in a vest versus a jacket. I feel like I have a little bit more mobility in my arm drive. And I definitely got warm the first few miles, but then I usually on a longer run will get kind of like cold again. So I was happy that I had all of this on. I also have rain-on syndrome for my hands. If you don't know what that is, it's disgusting. It looks like you have like dead hands. All the blood drains from your fingers. So I usually run with 2 layers of gloves and hot hands stuffed in my gloves. It sounds like really extreme for people who don't have this, but if you have it, you know how incredibly painful it is. So this helps protect my hands. So I had Tracksmith gloves on. I had like a waterproof shell mitten. It's like waterproof, windproof shell over those gloves. And I had hot hands stuffed up my gloves. And I definitely needed all of that. I had my big old gooder sunglasses on. Even though it was overcast, there were a couple bright parts, especially on the FDR. And also, my eyes water a ton in the cold wind. So this just kind of like helps shield from that. And my Coro swatch, trusty Coro swatch. I love them. I've had the swatch for like 2.5 years now. Would definitely recommend. I think I have the Pace 3. It's a pretty affordable running watch and pretty reliable GPS. And then my Lululemon headband ear warmer thing as well. All right, so post-race and results. Yes, I PR'd this race with a time of 1:40.05. It was a 2-minute, 12-second PR. That's a 7:39 pace. I will tell you, I barely ran any miles in my training in the sevens. There is something to say for logging some slow and steady miles with some speed work dispersed in. I was 6 seconds over my goal, annoyingly, but overall still happy with those results. I placed 4,636th out of 3,228 runners. I was the 1,044th female and the 244th of 3,009 in that age 30 to 34. So not too shabby. Feel pretty good about that. It's really fun to just go on and see all the different race stats. Like New York Road Runners has a breakdown of like ages and genders and locations and all of that of all the runners. So I would go check that out if you're curious at all. And then celebration after. Okay, race day, you guys, is just the celebration. Like training is the tough part. I'm not gonna say race day is easy. Like I was working, but it's also just a party. Like you've made it to the start line healthy enough to run. Like you've made it into this race that so many people want to run. Just enjoy it. And that includes adequately celebrating afterwards, no matter the results. So Billy and I picked up Apollo bagels on the way home and had those at home so we could like shower, regroup. And then we went over to the West Village, picked up some pizza at Slice House, which I will come for you if you share about Slice House on TikTok, because let me tell you, this is a like secret gem in the West Village. It's very similar to Lindustry Pizza, which always has an insane line outside. And I mean, for good reason. They're amazing. But this is the one that you can walk right into. Pick up some slices. I had like an eggplant parm pizza slice. It was so delicious. And then we took those to one of our favorite breweries, Talia. It's a woman-owned brewery. Their main brewery's in Williamsburg, but they have a tap house in the West Village that we like to hang out at. So celebrated there. And then we went to Broadway to see The Cursed Child. This was my Christmas gift from Billy. And I have seen the show twice actually on Broadway. Well, once I saw it at West End with my friend Georgie in London, which was so much fun. And then I saw it again 2 summers ago on Broadway. But if you're a Harry Potter fan at all, Tom Felton, who plays Draco Malfoy, is doing a stint on Broadway playing Draco Malfoy in The Cursed Child. So I was like, oh my gosh, I have to go. So that was my Christmas gift from Billy. We went and watched the show on Sunday afternoon, and I loved it. I mean, honestly, I wish they would have rewritten some of it to have like a little bit more Draco, because really his son and Harry's son are like the main characters in the play, but it was really fun to see him play Draco again. It was very nostalgic for my childhood. So anybody my age who like grew up with Harry Potter would recommend that. And that's how we celebrated the day after. So really, really such a fun day. Would highly recommend this race. If you're interested in running it next year, there are several ways for you to join. You can apply to the lottery. I don't think that opens for many, many more months. But again, all of this is on New York Roadrunners website. So check that out. But you can apply to the lottery just like the New York City Marathon has a lottery. You basically like throw your name in the hat to get an entry into this race. You can run the 4 of 6 program. So there are a list of certain races that New York Road Runners hosts every year. And if you run 4 of those 6, then you get a guaranteed entry into the next year's race. If you got into the race this year, but you deferred your bib for whatever reason, medical, you're pregnant, something like that, you can secure that bib next year. If you completed the virtual race at the guaranteed entry tier, they have several different virtual race tiers, but if you complete it at the guaranteed entry tier for this year, then you can get into the race next year. So if you're listening and this is the first you're hearing of this, you've already missed it. That tier sells out. And so you can play the long game though. You could do the virtual guaranteed entry race in 2027 to gain guaranteed entry into the 2028 race. So that's an option. If you're a certain level of New York Roadrunners member, they have different levels of membership. If you're a high enough level, you can get guaranteed entry. If you run with one of the race charities, you can get an entry. If you run with an international tour operator that partners with New York Roadrunners, you can get an entry. Or if you time qualify, which by the way is super, super speedy, much speedier than me. But there's a whole list of time qualifiers. They vary based on gender and age. And if the race is a New York Roadrunners race or if it's a race hosted by another organization, I would recommend, if you're interested in time qualifying, to go look at those standards on the New York Roadrunners website, because often they change year after year as well. But those are all ways to get a bib into the race if you want to run this race again. Parting thoughts. This was not an easy training block for me. There were a lot of mental battles during this block, but I do think that's kind of one of the beauties of running too. It's physical and mental. And so I did kind of draw on that when the race got mentally challenging at parts. It helped me push through. But really what helped me push through was the people. As always, running is a solo sport, but it's a community too. And so Billy being my biggest cheerleader out there with our big cutout waffles sign is such a boost. He likes to call himself the director of race day logistics because he'll do all of the planning as far as logistics go, which is so nice to not have to think about that on race day. So huge shout out to him, my family who was streaming at home and sending me messages, my friends who were texting me, cheering me on, the Endorphins run crew that was out there with me. All of that just makes it so much more fun and so much more meaningful. So find some running buddies and go run a race with them. This is definitely a really fun destination race if you're looking for a race outside of your hometown that you want to kind of get a little trip out of as well. I would highly recommend this one. It goes through so much iconic scenery in Brooklyn and in Manhattan, and it's a more approachable distance than a marathon if you're kind of earlier into running. Honestly, the half marathon's my favorite distance. Even though I run marathons, I just love a half. And so it's much more approachable, more affordable, easier to get into than the New York City Marathon for sure. So definitely one to consider checking out in the future. I'm hoping to be back on the race line, on the start line again next year. So hopefully you guys will join me out there. I hope you guys enjoyed this recap. I hope it was helpful to kind of get an understanding of what training and the course and getting into the race and all the logistics was like. But if you still have questions, you can always message me over on Instagram at Health by Haven. If you guys enjoyed this episode, if you would go and tap that little 5-star rating button or take a minute to just write a little review. It could be one sentence like, oh, I really loved Haven's race day recap. That means so much to me personally, but it also really helps with, the annoying algorithms of getting this into new ears for people who might enjoy listening. And it helps potential sponsors know that people are enjoying and identifying with the show. And so it helps my business too. So I really appreciate you guys when you take the time to do that. It does mean a lot to me. And if you have a friend or a family member who's a runner or who's curious about running a race, or you're like, hey, you should come run this with me next year, send this to them. Maybe it'll be a good little motivator and you guys can get a fun trip out of it. Hope you have a wonderful, wonderful week, and I'll see you back here next week. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Health by Haven podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please be sure to give the show a 5-star rating and leave a review. It makes such a huge difference in reaching new people and spreading the joy of healthy living. I would also be so appreciative if you subscribe to the show in the listening app of your choice so you never miss an episode. Your support truly means the world to me. Have a happy, healthy day, and I'll talk to you again soon.